Hey guys, thought I'd do a quick video on this piece of gear that I've got here. I've been packing this around for about 30 years, and when I say packing, I mean packing. This thing has to weigh probably, I don't know, 80, maybe even 100 pounds. I'll have to put it on the scale and see what it actually weighs. Anyway, this is a bench power supply that I got from I have no idea where because I can't remember it because it was 30 years ago. It doesn't work currently. I found another fellow who knew about these, and he had a spare board from one of his, and so he gave that to me, which is great, but I still haven't got the whole thing working. And one of the things I'm asking is wondering if anybody has seen any of these before, because I can't find any information on it on the internet. And I'm looking for any technical information or schematics or whatever. I'm just going to zoom in here on the nameplate, and that's what it is. I believe it's Canadian, probably out of maybe like a high school or a university type lab situation. And this thing is amazing. It has all these different the voltages that it can do. So it can do straight 117 or line power. Then it can do 0 to 130 through the variac, and then it can do either 0 to 12 or 0 to 24 AC or 0 to 12, 0 to 24 DC. And that's all operated through this selector switch here, which is a honkin' switch. And maybe we'll be able to take a look at that. I'm going to flip it over and we'll have a look at the underside of it. Anyway, I thought I'd give you a look inside of this thing. Look at the size of the transformers in this. This might be an isolation transformer. I don't know. I could see this one and this one being the 0 or 110 or 120 to 12 volts and 120 to 24 volts for the different switching down here on the front. But this one, I think it might be an isolation transformer, which would be amazing actually. But so anyway, some big power resistors there. That's the variac. The current on the variable power supply here on the 117 says it's a 3 amp, so we'll have to see what the ratings of that are. And then I think these two plates here house the bridge rectifier, and this either has an SCR or a transistor on it. I'm not exactly sure why. See, I'm looking for a schematic. And anyway, like I said, this thing is old. It's probably 60s, I'm thinking, vintage wise, but I'd like to either repair it and get it back to original function or rebuild it so that it serves the function that I have today. So I'm just going to put the camera down, see if I can get the shot lined up, and then I'm going to turn this over. And this thing is bloody heavy. Oh. So we can have a look at the underside of it. So here we go. So this is the underside of it. So there's the underside of the honkin' transformer. Yeah, this one here says 17 volts, so I'm pretty sure this would be the 0 to 12 volt supply there. What does that say? 0.1 volt. Yeah, interesting. It's got a capacitor here, obviously, well, not obviously, probably the filter capacitor, which would have to be changed, which isn't a big deal. And then this is that wafer switch. This is that selector switch, and it has all kinds of contact points on it, and everything. So she's a pretty interesting looking beast, I'll tell you that. And I say it's very, very heavy. I'm also wondering about the meter. The meter here, it's been missing since I've had it. And obviously it was scaled for all the different voltages you can do. I'm thinking about maybe just putting in one of those LCD modules you get from eBay that does current and voltage and wattage and power and everything. I'll find a way to mount it into the panel here. I think that's probably the best way to go for that, because it would be very useful to have all that information and fairly easy to wire it in. But everything looks to be in good shape. It hasn't been eaten by mouses or is not inhabited by alien creatures and all of that other kind of stuff. Say power resistors here. This is obviously, I would think it's a heat shield. This is how those boards inside are mounted, and they are isolated. There are plastic bushings that those are all screwed into. So anyway, we're just gonna see if I can put that back down again. Sorry for my video work. I promise it will get better. So yeah, so this is a, I said again, it's a Glenayre Electronics CSA approved, which is why I do believe it's Canadian, because this is embossed right into the face of the thing. It is a PS98, which when you Google it, you get a whole bunch of public schools in New York and New Jersey and things like that. 7.5 amps, blah, 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 blah. Power switch, which is also a breaker. I assume that it's probably at, a breaker at 10 amps or something like that. And then these on-off switches are also breakers as well, which I may or may not replace. I might just because they're old. I may not because they probably still work, because this style of breaker is a very very sturdy style of breaker. I'll replace the receptacles just again so we get good contacts. The banana jacks, this one's a little bit broken, but not really that big of a deal. And it's got a ground connection there. And this is that's the variac knob, which feels great. There's no grinding or sticking or any of that kind of thing. So I'm just going to have to, I think, tear it apart one day, start drawing it out, making a schematic, and probably add in a lot of designs, because I know power supply design and features have changed a lot, and I've got this amazing piece of equipment to start with, so why wouldn't I make it into something more extraordinary than it already is. Okay, thanks. That's just this little video on this Glenayre power supply. If anybody has any information or can shoot me any information, that would be wonderful. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Bye now.